Disney World doesn't quite work like the rest of the world, so it can be hard to know when you can and cannot tip. But there are about 5 different areas where you may find opportunities to tip during your Disney World trip. Here are those 5. Number 1, anybody who handles your luggage. Now this is not just Disney World, but anytime you travel. If you are flying at the airport and because where else would you fly other than the airport? If you use curbside check-in, then the people who handle your luggage there, they are usually tipped. If you happen to use Magical Express and you take your bags on the bus physically because you've picked them up at baggage claim, the cast members who load and unload your bags there do accept tips. And finally, at your hotel, if Bell Services helps you transport your bags to your room, they deserve a tip. It is very typical to tip $1 to $2 per bag for anybody who helps you with your luggage. So that's area number 1. Number 2 is at your resort. I already talked about Bell Services, which is at your resort, but one other area you may tip at your resort is Mousekeeping, which is Disney's version of housekeeping. It is typical to tip $1 per person per day of your trip for Mousekeeping, and you should do that daily as opposed to at the end of your trip because the staff is always changing. So if you tip at the end, then the people who helped you at the beginning of your trip may not get that gratuity. That is area number 2. Number 3 is dining, of course, and this gets a little bit tricky, especially with dining plans, so let's go through it. First of all, 15 to 20% is pretty typical tip in the United States, and that is true at Disney World as well. If you have a group of 6 or more, an 18% gratuity will automatically be added to your bill. If you are on the dining plan, then you should tip based on what the total would have been because you'll get a receipt and you will be able to tell them I'm paying with dining plan credits. But you should tip based on the overall dollar amount that you would have paid. In the past, Disney Dining Plan did include tip, but it no longer does. So that's something you'll need to add on separately. And it's also something you need to budget ahead of time because you may think, oh, my food is already paid for, but you still need to do that 15 to 20% per meal for tip. There are 4 different meals at Disney World where the tip is included, so you do not have to add an additional tip there. And that's the three shows, Spirit of Aloha, Luau, Mickey's Backyard Barbecue, and Hoop-dee-Doo Review. You pay a set price there. Gratuity is included. It is also included at Cinderella's Royal Table, so there is no need to add any extra there. But everywhere else, you should plan on adding 15 to 20%. That is area number 3 you can plan on tipping. Number 4 is salon or salon-like services. First of all, there are actual spas and salons throughout Disney World, so tipping there is pretty typical. 10 to 15% I think is pretty normal for salon services. So at the actual salons you would do that, but there are also some kid-friendly salons that are a little bit harder to know what to do, like Bibbidi Bobbidi Boutique at Magic Kingdom. They're all at Magic Kingdom, Harmony Barbershop, or Pirates League, and these are all places where kids can get their haircut or makeovers or that kind of stuff, and you can tip there at the 10 to 15% rate, and I'm sure the fairy godmothers who do the princess makeovers will appreciate it. Area number 5 is just kind of a miscellaneous other services area because you may or may not have these during your trip. One is if you valet, you will want to tip for valet, and that's usually about $2 to $5. If you go on a boat cruise where you rent a boat, like an Illuminations boat cruise, that kind of thing, then it is very typical to tip the boat drivers. There may be other areas that I have not mentioned. Feel free to mention those in the comments and add to what I've already said here. One last note before we wrap it up is that many cast members cannot accept tips, but if you feel like there may be an opportunity, it never hurts to ask. Hope that helps. Thanks for watching. See you next time.